Hello, everyone. So thank you so much for joining our MER event. This is April. Can you believe it? I can't believe we're already at April. Today, Heather and our guests will be exploring food intolerances and their effects on the brain.
Welcome, everybody. I am Heather Skoll, and I am so thrilled to introduce you to my next guest, Julie Tibbles. Now, I know Julie, I've known her for the last number of years because I have utilized her services and it has been invaluable to me. And I'll probably tell you more about some of my experiences with Julie over the past number of years. But let me introduce Julie. So for over 10 years, Julie has helped people face a range of physical and emotional health issues. Her clients often have spent months or years going from one practitioner to another looking for relief. And often they don't find that anything that has helped or it has helped but hasn't lasted. So as an alternative healthcare practitioner, Julie uses advanced tools, scientific insights, powerful intuition, and practical solutions to get to the root of what is going on with her clients. Julie works like a detective, testing, balancing, and adjusting to find the answer she needs to get to her clients' health back on track. The impact of Julie's type of energy work is powerful. And after all these years and on the hundreds of people she's helped overcome seemingly insurmountable health challenges, the results always seem a little bit like magic. And it's actually beyond magic because there is some science quantifying evidence to it as well. So first of all, please help me welcome Julie. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Heather. Thanks so much for having me.
You are very welcome, and thank you for being here. Just so to clarify for everybody, can you describe the way you work with clients? Like, how does this magic work?
Yes, I can definitely explain that. So I use frequencies to be able to test and balance and see what's going on with the client. So whether that's in person or by distance, everything has a frequency. So every food has a frequency, every hormone in our body, every organ, every different plant, everything has its own frequency, and our bodies either recognize a frequency or they don't. So if our body is not recognizing a frequency, it potentially could be reacting to it, or that particular frequency is not working well within our body. So, for example, if somebody's got itchy, runny eyes and a stuffy nose whenever they're around cats, that tells me that their body is not recognizing the frequency of cats. So my job is to help their body recognize the frequency of cats. Once their body recognizes that, then they will stop reacting to it because their body knows how to deal with that frequency appropriately. So I can do that in person. During COVID, actually even before COVID, I switched to doing distance sessions because frequencies can work near or far. Just like when we go to unlock our car door, if we come out of the grocery store and we want to unlock our car, we push the button and somehow only our car unlocks and not the 100 other cars in the parking lot. Because it's a frequency that's programmed directly to your vehicle, we can do the same with health. So I can send you and receive frequencies from you. I can send and receive frequencies even though we're not in the same room.
Great. Okay. So I'm sure just by looking at some people's faces, they're like, really? Like, that's pretty incredible. So before we go there, I want to ask you, what kinds of things, situations, challenges generally lead clients to you?
That is a good question, because oftentimes different business coaches will want you to niche, to have a very specific group of people that you work with. And I tend to work with a really wide variety of people. I guess the common thing that I work with is people who aren't getting answers from anywhere else. They've tried everything. Maybe they've tried changing their diet. They've seen a naturopath. They've tried medication. They've tried all sorts of different modalities, tools, supplements, medications. and either nothing has worked or nothing has lasted, and they're at their wits' end and willing to try something different. So oftentimes either clients will already understand the frequencies and what I do and they're open to trying it, or people are just at their wits' end and they say, you know what, it can't do any harm, I'm ready, let's try this. So that would be the common denominator between the types of clients that I work with. But oftentimes I'll see clients with digestive issues or headaches or skin issues like eczema, or reactions to trees, grass, weeds, cats, dogs. It's a wide variety of health issues.
Yes, I would imagine that there are a wide variety of health issues leading people towards you. And so today we're trying to like narrow down our topic to food intolerances, and then we'll get to how they may affect the brain and how we might know that they're affecting the brain. So with regards to food intolerances, how might someone know that they're experiencing a food intolerance? And I know you touched on that already in some of the descriptions of things people might experience, but if you can kind of reiterate that, what might someone experience when they're having food intolerances?
Right. So food intolerances can be different for everyone. You know, oftentimes you'll have an immediate reaction like an upset stomach or gas or bloating or something that tells you, hey, what I just ate didn't sit well. But reactions to food can happen even a day or two later after you've eaten the food, which makes it difficult to pinpoint what the food actually was that caused the problem. But food intolerance can cause headaches. They can cause really, really low energy. They can cause, like I mentioned, the gas, the bloating, the constipation, or even more severe digestive issues like Crohn's or colitis. Skin issues like eczema, which people don't always make that connection, but oftentimes skin issues are a result of food intolerances. Joint pain and arthritis, those are really common side effects from a food intolerance. So arthritis or anything ending in itis typically means inflammation. So if you're eating a food that you're reacting to and it's causing some inflammation in your body, then you could, be labeled with arthritis, but the root cause may actually be food intolerances.
Mm. Yeah, Julie, this is really interesting because oftentimes when we think of allergy, right? Allergy is usually more of an extreme, more immediate reaction. You go, oh, I had this, or I've been exposed to this, and I'm reacting like this. And it's kind of obvious that it happens. But what we're talking about is that there's not always an obvious connection. So it could be for cats, for example. You may be exposed to a cat, you start having a running nose in a short period of time. You go, I'm allergic to cats. But you might not be allergic to cats. You may be sensitive to cats, but like I live with a cat. And over time, being exposed to this sensitivity over and over and over, what I might be experiencing is inflammation in my body, not a typical allergy. And therefore, the connection is harder to pinpoint. So it's really important to note that our sensitivities aren't as obvious, right, to what we would think as like an allergy would be.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good point to make too, because if you are experiencing arthritis or digestive issues or Crohn's or colitis, and you do suspect a food reaction, but you go to your doctor and have an allergy test and everything comes back normal, that doesn't mean that you're not reacting to a food. It just means that you don't have a true allergy to that food, but you could have a sensitivity or an intolerance to that food that's causing the inflammation.
So this now gets into that like intricate idea of, okay, so if we have a sensitivity, how do we understand that it might be affecting our brain? And how do food intolerances affect our brains?
Yes, yeah. And I love this topic because it can affect our brain in so many different ways for the type of food that it is or the type of intolerance that it is, as well as certain conditions. So for example, fatigue is a common one, or headaches are a common one to have with gluten intolerance, for example. And like I say, people might not make that association right away. They might have, headaches for days upon days and not realize that it was the gluten that they just ate. So that's a really common one. But other more interesting ones that are also not, most people are not quite aware of, are things such as sugar. So there is something called diabetes type 3. It's a fairly new term, and it is when the sugar that we eat, or not even the sugar, but how our body breaks down and processes sugar, isn't working quite right, and it affects our brain. So typically that would result in memory issues, brain fog, feeling very tired all the time. But oftentimes when we work with people with dementia, for example, working on their body's ability to metabolize and break down sugars will actually improve their memory. So that's a really, really interesting one as to how it affects the brain. Another one would be things such as chemicals that we're consuming, like MSG. Probably a lot of people have either experienced this or know somebody that has, when they consume something like MSG, which is actually a chemical. It's not a real food, or something our body doesn't really recognize. It will cause usually headaches, but for a lot of people, it will cause dizziness or vertigo, or just that funny feeling in our brain, because that chemical is actually affecting our brain. And similar to that would be something like food colorings, which highly affect children, especially children with ADD or ADHD. You'll find that they can't concentrate, or that they're, wild, because it's so stimulating to their brain. It's causing a reaction in their brain. So there are many different ways that food intolerances or different types of foods can affect the brain.
So there's so much I'd want to talk about, but because we have just this short period of time, I want to get right to this and ask, is there something we can do to determine if we might be intolerant to a food, or whether we ate something and we feel off? And I know that because you talked about at the beginning, the vibrations, like if we're like an automatic like key to a lock on a door, then it seems like we could learn to actually predict before we eat something that, oh wait, this is not opening that door, this is not good for my body. So can you share something with us and maybe do something that we can try?
Absolutely. So this is exciting. This is something that you can try at home. It is called the sway test. So this is something you can use with foods. You can use this with supplements. You can use this with anything that you're going to consume, even water, because sometimes people have a problem absorbing water. Sometimes water on its own might be difficult for you, but if you add a little bit of salt, it'll be easier for your body to absorb. So one way that you can test things on yourself right before you consume something is called the sway test. So I'm just going to stand up. I hope I have enough room here, and I will show you what the sway test is. I've got a few foods here so I can show you what that is. So if you want to do the sway test, let me just adjust my camera here. You can see me okay? Okay, so if you want to do the sway test, this is a good way to test to see if your body is ready to accept something, or if it's going to say, no, this is not good for me right now. So what you would want to do is stand nice and tall, find your center of gravity, maybe have your feet a little bit apart so you feel sturdy on your feet. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to close your eyes and feel centered. Sometimes when you first do that, you might feel a little wobbly. You might need to just hold on to a table just so you can feel your center of gravity and be still. And then you're going to do a little test first. So you can say, show me yes. And I'm going to turn sideways for you. So if you say, show me yes, you should find after just a few seconds that you start to lean one way or the other. Typically, when you say yes, you're going to lean forward. And when you say no, you're going to start to fall backwards. Mm-hmm. So that's the first little test you want to do. And you can do that with your name too. So you can say, my name is Julie. And if the answer is yes, you're going to lean forward. But if the answer is no, you're going to lean back. So you can say, my name is Frank, and I'll lean back because clearly that's not my name. So then you want to test a food or a supplement. So for example, I have an apple here. First, before I test the apple, I want to find my center of gravity and be nice and firm and standing up straight. Then I'll take the apple and hold the apple and say, is this apple good for me to eat? And you will either lean forward or back. And you can ask the question in different ways, just to make sure you're getting the right answer. So, is this apple healthy for me? Yes. But, an apple is healthy for almost anybody, right? But am I going to react to this apple might be a different question that you want to ask. And then you can do that, like I say, with anything. You can do that with your glass of water. You can do that with a yogurt, for example, which the yogurt for me is a no-go. I don't do well with yogurt, and I don't care to, because I don't really like yogurt that much. So that's a little trick and tool that you can use on your own. And I did send Heather a little video on that. So if you don't remember and you want a refresher on that, there is a short YouTube video that you can watch as a refresher for that.
Wow. So this is really great for us, Julie. I really love it. So when there used to be buffets, because now I think buffets is something that maybe has been gone for the last couple of years. I would go to a buffet and I'd spend so long examining the food, but I think what I was doing was I was sort of doing that without knowing that. I would be like, yeah, this, and it would be almost that yes was like, yeah, I'm falling forward to it. It means, yes, I can put this on my plate. Some of it was like logic as around, oh, that might have gluten, or this has dairy, and I would just avoid it. But oftentimes, so going to a buffet, if buffets ever do come back, I think we'll just take a long time to make our decisions with using the sway technique. But I think it is a fantastic way that we can self-manage and self-pick what we eat. And then maybe even when we shop. Julie, will it work when we shop? Like if we go and we pick up a bottle of supplement of some kind, could it still work that way?
Oh, yes, absolutely. You can pick up a bottle of supplements and say, is this the supplement I need? And like you say, if you lean forward, you're attracted to it. That meaning, yes, that is a good supplement for you. And you can also do that with how many do I need? So for example, like maybe you have a magnesium supplement and you're unsure if it gives you a range on the bottle and says, take 1 to 3 per day. And you think, well, do I take 1 or do I take 3? You can ask, you hold the supplement and say, do I need 1 of these? And you'll either lean forward or back. And then you ask the same question with 2 or 3, and then you can find out the dosage. But I do recommend don't go beyond the dosage that's on the bottle. That's, just, stay within the dosage recommendations that are on the bottle. And you're absolutely right. As you become more intuitive with the sway test, you won't even need to do the sway test. So I am also that way. And I find that my body is very hit or miss for different types of wine, for example. So if I'm there, I will touch the wine and I'll know if that one is okay or not without even having to do the sway test.
That is awesome. Thank you for that. That's definitely something we can do on our own. But let's just say we're not sure and we want to get a little bit more in depth. How could somebody work with you to get more in depth answers, whether it's food or other things that might be causing reactivity?
Yeah, for sure. On your own, there's a few things you can do, just keeping a journal of what foods you're eating or drinks, whatever you're consuming, and then avoiding things for up to 4 days to see if you feel better, and then reintroducing it, seeing if you react. That's time consuming. It does take a while, but if you want to do that on your own, like absolutely, that is very insightful and very helpful. Or you can always book an appointment with me. We can test energetically with the frequencies to see what foods you are reacting to or what foods your body doesn't like. And then we reintroduce those to your body as well so that you can consume those foods one day. So, for example, I use that apple as an example. My son developed an intolerance to apples because he was eating so many of them. So he created a stress to the apples because he was over consuming them. So using a frequency, I help his body recognize the apples. So now he can eat them again without having a reaction to them. So that's the beauty of doing these appointments, is that you can consume these foods again later. And there's some foods that we don't want to consume all the time, like the MSG, for example. But if you want to work on MSG, so if you do come into contact with it sometime, you're not going to react to it, then that's always a good idea too.
Great, thank you. So finally, I want to ask you, is there anything coming up, things that you might, want to invite people here to sign up for, check anything out? Do you have anything coming up
I do. Yeah. So I always have my free Facebook group. Welcome to join that. There's always lots of great information there, and you can always reach me there. So I'm on there every day. So that's a great way to connect with me. I do have a membership where I work on releasing trapped negative emotions. I work on sending balancing frequencies for all kinds of things. This month, our theme was oral health. So we talked about releasing bacteria and candida and thrush from the body. So there's always that's ongoing, and you can jump in and do it for a month and drop out at any time. But the next big thing that I have coming up that I'm really excited about is my hormone balancing program. And that's for anybody who's having hormone issues, from teenagers who are having issues with their cycle to women who are in menopause and having issues with hot flashes and night sweats and so on. So that's a 3-month program where I work on balancing your hormones energetically with frequencies, but there's also the component of the nutrition and learning how to eat and what foods you should be eating, what foods you should be avoiding, what supplements you might need to help bring your body back into balance. And I'm super excited for that program. It's a big one. It's 3 months long.
Wow. Well, thank you for that. I think that's going to be really, really exciting.